Hi guys, I don't know if I'm going to be any good at this video thing, but I'm going to give it my best shot. Simulate what we do on a Tuesday. So the first thing I've got is a little woven activity with one piece of green, which is 8 by 8.5, and one piece of red, which is 8 by 8, and one piece of fusible, lightweight fusible interfacing, which is bumpy on one side, 8 inches by 8 inches. I'll show you what we're going to do with them. The first thing we're going to do is take the green piece, which has got a line drawn across it with a friction pen, a 1/2 inch from one side. We're going to start on the line so that this bit remains uncut. We're going to create a little bit of a grass skirt by just doing wavy lines about 1 inch or 3/4 of an inch apart. So you end up with something a little bit like that. The next thing I'm going to do is take the fusible web, place it on my work surface, and then I'm going to lay the green fabric on top of it so that the bumpy side of the fusible interfacing is facing the waves of fabric that I've created. The next thing is to take the red fabric, and here it's important to pay some attention to the directionality of the fabric, because we're going to cut this way so that when we weave the red into the green, all the snails will be up the right way, I think. Let's give it a go. So what we want to do now is separate them out, but don't move them away from their jigsaw puzzle position in relation to each other. Because what we're going to do next is we're going to take each one and we are going to lay it. In fact, what we can do is open out alternate greens on the grass skirt. We can lay on the red. We might need to slip that a little bit more to push it in. Put the greens back down. And then continue to weave in the same fashion. Oops, I probably didn't show that very well, did I? I realised you couldn't see very well. It might just help as well if you snip right back to the line in some cases. Sorry about that. And then take the next one. Again, lift alternates. The nice thing about this one is that unlike the previous technique we used when we were creating wavy squares, they all absolutely end up with perfect points. None of them miss. Whereas when we used that piece technique. They didn't always quite meet at the corners, as this one does. It's beautiful. I'll keep going and show you when I've finished. Now you might not manage to get the whole of your woven bits in. For example, I can't quite fit this last piece in, but what you can do is keep giving them a little shuffle along. Make sure your slits go all the way to your line, and as usual, the more attention to detail you give your So once you've got all of your woven fabrics tight against each other, you can press them, holding the iron down for a count of 8 to make it adhere to the fusible interfacing behind it. If you've got any bits of fusible interfacing showing, you really should put a little bit of Teflon or baking paper to stop it sticking to your iron. And that, you can turn it over then, press it from the back. And that gives you a piece of patchwork that you can then take. It holds it, doesn't hold it perfectly, but it holds it at least well enough to take it to the sewing machine, and that's the bit that I'll show you next. Okay, so the final stage of the process is to do a zigzag stitch along the seam to secure all the layers together. And the way that we do that is we make sure we've got an open-toed foot. We move the stitch choice to 0.7. We set the stitch width to 2.5 and the stitch length to 1. Okay, and then if you start a little bit beyond the starting point, press the foot down and just make sure now you've got square the centre of your stitches, and just very gently let the machine take the fabric through. Sadly, you lose some of those beautiful points that you've made underneath the zigzag stitch. Now I started from the centre and worked my way out both ways, which will push any excess fabric. It doesn't even matter 100%. You don't say bang on. And so after you've done all the north to south seams, again starting with the middle and working outwards, you can do the west to east seams. And the next ones we'll do will be going that way. So everybody, we've now completed our little wavy quilt with zigzags. That's the back and that's the front. And in the next YouTube video, I hope to show you how we're going to make a little porthole to show it through before it becomes part of a quilt.